We're going right at 6, right? 6, ready? Yep. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is standing one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, we do a roll call for us, please.
Councilwoman Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns, Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Scaringi is absent.
Okay, thank you. We will now have the approval of minutes. Could I ask Councilman Scanlon to ask for the approval of minutes, please?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you for that. We all now have two sets of appointments to consider. The first one, we have a planning commission name put forward of Mary DeFulvio. Mario, I apologize, Mario DeFulvio. You. Okay, do we have a nomination?
Mr. President, I'll nominate Mario DeFulvio for the Planning Commission.
We have a second?
You can second it.
Second, I'll second it. Okay. Do a roll call and you have to state the name if you want to.
Yes, please state the name of the individual you would like to appoint. Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley,
Mario DeFulvio.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Mario DeFulvio.
Councilman Burns,
Mario DeFulvio.
Councilman Strawn,
Mario DeFulvio.
Councilman Scanlon,
Mario DeFulvio.
and Scaringi is absent. So that's 2 absent, Resnetti and Scaringi, 5 votes for Mario DeFulvio.
Okay, now we have Community Development Advisory Committee, the CDAC. We have 2 potential nominations for that. I'd like to move forward with the nominations for that post. Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. I'd like to nominate Nathan Hotchkiss.
Second.
Do we do each one and then what do we do? Are there any other nominations for CDAC? Councilman Scanlon.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Jacob Coupon.
Okay, I'll second that. Okay. Any other nominations for CDAC? Okay. Go ahead. Roll
Okay.
call.
So please state the name of the individual you would like to appoint. Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley,
With strong support, Nathan Hotchkiss.
okay. Councilwoman Friedman,
Nathan Hotchkiss.
Councilman Burns, Councilman Strawn,
Jacob Kumpan.
and Councilman Scanlon,
Jacob Coupon.
and Scaringi is absent. So that's 2 absent, Resnetti and Scaringi, 2 votes for Mr. Kumpan, and 3 votes for Mr. Hotchkiss.
Neither is adopted.
Yeah. It's the majority. It is the majority.
Right, we need 4, right?
What? Neither is adopted because they both need 4 votes to be adopted. They need 4. They need a 4.
4.
Yes. For the body to act, there has to be 4.
Okay, so we will bring that up at a future meeting. We'll bring that up. Okay. We will move,
Mr. President?
yes, go
Point
ahead.
of order. Why is this different than the electing of the president of city council?
I will turn that over to corporate counsel. Why is it
It was, we just went with majority on the president of city council. Why is it, why aren't we going with the majority of this?
There were four votes.
We had 4 votes. We did.
Oh, okay. And why is it this for, it's not the majority of who's
the-
present?
For the body to act, there has to be 4 votes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. And we have a quorum. There has to be 4 votes for it to pass.
Phil. Just go.
We're gonna move on.
Phil.
Tom is not, I am. I'm the legal counsel. Sir, we do have rules of decorum in this.
Let's. Sir, I want to get to our public hearing so you can all speak. I know. And he was answered by the corporate counsel.
He has the privilege of the floor. Yes. That's correct.
Can you repeat what you said so we're clear?
For public bodies to act, it takes a majority of the body, not a majority of those present.
A majority of the body. So
That's correct.
every.
Unless there's a specific rule that says those present, it is always the majority of the body.
So for the rest, so for my clarification as well, for everything we're voting on tonight, it would require 4 votes to pass.
That's correct.
Okay.
If we, please, point of order, there's 5 members here, so 4 people vote, then we can act. If 4 people don't vote, then we can't. That's what the city code says. It's not my decision. 4 people need to vote in affirmative to pass anything. It doesn't matter who.
No, those are.
4
different
people
things.
need to vote.
different
We have
things.
7 members.
Different
4
things.
people need to vote to pass.
2 different things.
There's one had 3, one had 2.
It would have
Then it would have passed.
Right.
We want. Okay, we're gonna move on. Listen. Point of order. We have 3 public hearings that will not take very long. Those are for specific subject matters. We will move them very quickly. We asked that, but corporate counsel said we had to go with our agenda because of the way the code says. We will go very quickly through them. This is delaying it right now. We will go very quickly through them, but if somebody's here for those public hearings, let them speak briefly and we will move very quickly to public comment. Okay. No. Everyone, we have to use our agenda. If this won't take very long, if you let us go through our agenda and we'll get to the public comment that everybody's here for. And we want everybody to be able to speak as long as you need to. But let us just, just let us go through our agenda very quickly and we'll be there in a matter of minutes. All right, like if we have to can this
Mr.
thing,
President, President Strawn,
Councilmember Freeman, go ahead.
thank you. Thank you, President Strawn. I'd like to make a motion to move public comment next in the agenda.
Second.
You can do it.
Yes, there's a motion on the floor.
You can vote on the motion.
Okay, a motion on the floor to suspend the rules and make public comment now. What? Roll call. All in favor? Roll call.
Aye.
Corporate Council says roll call.
Oh, this is.
Roll call.
Okay,
Please.
Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns. Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and Scrungy is absent. That's 5 votes aye.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clerk, will you please announce our public comment and let people know how they can participate, please.
You'll have 5 minutes to speak. Please come down one by one. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
They won't be able to hear you online unless you, is it, once the light is green? It's
All right, so I'm bringing this picture up because this is a horrific picture. So on the right, you have Hamil and the officer kneeling on his neck. On the left, you have the police officer kneeling on George Floyd's neck. And I thought when we did everything that not just Binghamton, but the world, and I want to emphasize the world, when we went and took the street in 2020 and said this should no longer be allowed for it to be continuing in 2023, when that chokehold is actually not even supposed to be used in the city of Binghamton. So our demands are for that police officer to be fired because clearly he committed an illegal move. And what's even more frightening is the fact that he was the SRO working with kids in the school. He was also SRO when the kid that he was kneeling on was going to Binghamton High School and he was the SRO there. So you guys are saying, you know, SRO helps build relationship, helps build trust with the police. But as soon as these brown kids get old enough to be outside, they're kneeling on their necks. What kind of relationship is that building? Because they don't even remember the kids on the, that they was giving high fives to in the school when they're walking in the street. So there's no reason for SROs to be in the school anyways, at all. And we need that officer to be fired because what he did was definitely illegal. And the fact that I'm not even gonna say not one, but the fact that the city of Binghamton, the police department didn't even acknowledge that is despicable. Instead, they said, oh, we're gonna do investigation instead of actually saying we wouldn't tolerate this in our community and we're gonna make sure we do everything we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen again would have been the right response.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna pick up where Solka left off a little bit. We just found out that the Attorney General will not investigate unless they are requested to investigate something like this. This is ridiculous. They said they need a body. So the fact that this cop got caught and stopped before he actually killed somebody is the only thing that is making it so that the Attorney General did not have to investigate immediately. I need you to know that any of you could request an investigation of the Attorney General. It doesn't have to go to the governor, which is where we're going now. It doesn't have to go there. But because you're, and it's not all of you, certain members of the city council constantly toe the line and back the blue, regardless of what is going on in our communities. You've received the report that said that there was over-policing and under-reporting of violence. You did nothing with that. You made a mockery of the governor's decree. And so now these are chickens coming home to roost. This is the stuff that y'all allow to happen. You know, Binghamton has been in the news an awful lot lately. You think you might be a little sick of the bad publicity that our hometown is getting. We are a hotbed for racist, white supremacist organizations. It's actually quite large here. If any of y'all would take a half a minute to check it out, you would see it. It's not like it's hiding. It's not hiding. It's hiding right in plain sight. It's in the decals I see on the back of pickup trucks all over this city. It's in your faces right now while I'm talking to you. It's blatant. It's blatant. Look at what is happening here. Look at what you're covering up for. I don't even know what. What are you getting? What are you getting besides selling your property? What are you getting? You're not getting any tax money to keep our schools open. That's not happening, right? We got to keep closing schools down because families can't afford to live here. What? I just have to say shame. Shame on you. Shame.
I'm gonna make my comment like really short and sweet. There should have been like a body camera on that officer, should there have not? There was. And I'll tell you what, I would like to see the footage that was released from that body cam. And I have a little bit of expertise on Broome County releasing body cam footage, which they deny because of judicial proceedings, is what they said. I've done this 6 times to see them release body cam footage. They deny. It works when it works for them. They will use their body cam footage. You guys need to understand that when it doesn't work for them, they will deny and delay, and that's what lawyers do best. They talk and they deny and they delay, and then they hide behind this. And I think we all need to understand If you got body cam footage, it goes both ways. And they love to play it when it shows their thing, but when they're wrong, they will hide it. That's all I have to say.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for your time, City Council, for Binghamton neighbors, each one in the community. Okay. How's that better? Hi, my name is Pastor Frank Barnett. I'm just here tonight and I just want to present to you a problem, just the awareness of the people that are here are showing you that there's something going on in our neighborhoods, in our community. I live in Johnson City, but I have a church in Binghamton. I'm not here to point the fingers at you. We just want to raise our voice and awareness. I have 7 children and several grandchildren, and some of them I can't say for racist things about that because some of my grandchildren may look white, but I don't want it to be a girl, boy, dark, white, or anyone to have their neck to be stepped upon. And so I just want to let you know, I don't care what their sexual orientation is or anything, but I just wanted to live in a city and live in a county where we're treated equally. We want to be treated fair. We want to be treated, knowing that the people that we give our power to are using it in the right way. Using it not over forcefully, not hurting us. Sometimes we deal with youth that may be outspoken, and we know sometimes they're saying the wrong things as a young person, but you'd have to be the one that's in authority to know how to use your authority with these young people that are out there nowadays. I'm not saying lay down to them or anything like that, but I'm just saying this stuff that's really going on and someone's been their neck being pressed upon. I want to make sure that my children can live each and every day without being pulled over in fear for their life. And so that's why I'm here today. And I really wanted to say this, that I've been working with the mayor and the police chief, and I want to be able to sit down with them and see what's going on, to talk to them and see about this issue that happened just recently. I don't care whose child it is. It just might as well been my child, because I was born in Binghamton and I care enough for this young man that it happened to, that you should think that you don't want it to happen to anyone in your family too. And so we have to hold them accountable, those that are doing these different type of things. Hey, he can get another job. I know you guys are worried about that, but why don't we hold accountable even the other ones that are standing by watching these actions, the things that are doing stuff like that? Like I said, we're not blaming you. You're here just, to help us in some way. You would hope that you would help the people that are paying taxes and paying, paying the mayor's employment and stuff like that. So we're just here to raise our voice. We want to do it in decency and order tonight. And I thank you for your time. You guys have a blessed night.
I don't have as much grace as the Reverend. I do blame you. After this is gonna be tough. After George Floyd, we were supposed to reimagine community safety, policing. I want to ask the 2 officers in the back, do you have the tools to solve mental health crises? Do you know how to address trauma? Can you solve poverty? Do you know how to deal with addiction? What about homelessness? Are you providing houses to those who are homeless? Are you providing childcare or better transit to those who can't secure employment? The point is, it's not to like make fun of you. That's not your job. And so when we asked for reallocation of resources to all of those major drivers of crime, we were bullied, we were demeaned, we were insulted, all with an underlying racist rhetoric that was extremely infuriating. So then we had a global pandemic, and we had the incredible, unprecedented opportunity to allocate $46 million over 5.5 years to help this community recover. Where'd it go? Yes, this beautiful roof. Well, we asked to be a part of those conversations. The door was shut. We asked to influence those spending priorities. We asked to bring people who were most impacted by the pandemic to help design our spending plan. Again, we were mocked, bullied, ridiculed. When we asked this council to create at least a website then to track how the money's being spent, you buried it. You wouldn't even allow for discussion. A simple measure of transparency. $700,000 to fix the roof because you're so concerned and care so much about public engagement. But even though you have a freaking website staff member, you wouldn't commit to simple transparency. So you know what? The hell with you. We did it. Small group of residents launched today a new website that documents and tracks how Binghamton elected officials are spending our $46 million in pandemic recovery funds. I want to say that former Mayor Rich David and current Mayor Jared Cram have already allocated almost 90% of these unprecedented recovery funds without a single community meeting or any input from those most impacted by the pandemic. Are you proud of them? It's insulting, disappointing, and infuriating, and I'm clearly not alone. So I blame you because you have enabled and rubber stamped the mayor to turn our community's pandemic recovery fund into your own political slush fund. So you can go to the website, binghamtonslushfund.org. And it tracks every single dollar, every one of the $41,511,268 that you have already allocated without single community input or meeting, even though we have until December 31st, 2026 to spend those dollars. And there's less than 5 million left. Did you know 7 million is going to that luxury project to rebuild the ramp by Boscov's? 7 million. All I have to say, I'm just going to finish and then turn it back over because there are more pressing priorities. I'm trying to tie this together, but it is sad and pathetic that because you all oppose transparency, that we as residents have to volunteer our time to monitor, track, and hold you accountable in the spending of our recovery funds. It's infuriating. We're exhausted. We're done sitting nicely at the table. We've done that for years. Thank you. Yeah, Tarek.
First of all, the one in the blue shirt, Mr. Widowspeak, you should be ashamed of yourself because you have been rolling your eyes. You have been on your little iPad this whole time. You have been making snarky faces. I see you. I don't know what your name is, but I see you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shame, shame, shame. With your dry throat, just drink your water. But anyways, I just don't know how you could look at this man's face, what they did to him. He has a bruised eye. I know this man, by the way, Hamiel, and I know his sister. They are both beautiful people. And I just don't know how you could look at this man's face with his bruised eye. He has a scar under his chin. This man was just messed up. He wasn't even part of anything. That's the sad part. He was breaking up a fight. And I don't understand how you could look at his face and then look at the officer that did it and place him on desk duty and not fire him immediately. That is ridiculous. And you should, Mr. Widowspeak, I'm talking to you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed of yourself that you did not fire this officer. Are you kidding me? Desk duty? Come on, that's played out. He should be fired and not on desk duty. and charged. He messed this, he assaulted this man. He was on the ground already, even if he did something. Let's play, even if he did something. This man was handcuffed on the ground. He couldn't even do anything, and if he wanted to. And this man put his knee on his neck, knowing what happened in 2020, knowing what happens to Black people on a daily basis. And he has, this is what happens, because when you guys don't reprimand your officers, that's why they get away with the things they do. Because it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go home with suspension with pay, by the way, with pay sometimes, and not even care, have a care in the world, because they're not Black, because they're white people that have the privilege to do that in this world. Exactly. Exactly. Half the officers in the world that do this to Black people get off on this. They don't even go to jail half the time. It's Black women have to speak up for this type of things, and stuff still don't even get done half the time. But we gonna speak. We gonna speak every single time. You're gonna hear our voices every single time. We are not giving up. This is our life. This is our country too. I be making jokes that 60-year-old white people be looking at me like they cannot believe I'm free, because they can't. They cannot believe a Black woman is roaming free in this world. So they have to take it in their own hands to kill us. And that is ridiculous. I should not have to fear my life walking down the street for doing absolutely nothing. I'm in fear of my life. Every single time I see a cop, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Are they gonna get after me? It's horrible. I shouldn't have to think that. And then people want to sit here and be like, oh, back the blue, back the blue. We can't do that when they're killing our own people. The system does not work. It's never working. It's not working. It's not working for all our people. And you guys sit here with these snarky faces scrolling on your iPad, not caring. And that just goes to show that this is why Black people still have it hard in this country, because you guys are not listening to us. Never, ever in your lives. You guys just sit there, go back to your houses with your white privilege and sleep peacefully, while I'm every single night worrying about this boy, that you guys have the privilege to not do so. You guys need to fire this officer, because this is ridiculous. And it starts here, starts small, even in Bing. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Barnett, Major Barnett, Professor Barnett, veteran. I served in the U.S. Army for 4 years. My last duty station, Berlin. We were always on call, and to have that kind of fear, just knowing that you can be called at any moment. I think that kind of sums up how Blacks live. They're always, I was doing some recent research on that. Blacks always live at a heightened alert. They're always looking for police around them. Even if they're doctors or medical doctors, or they always have to give out their credentials to feel validated. It's a shame that we can't just say that I'm just a Black man. And, you know, it's really hurtful. I remember my father being the first Black employee for Bangor, city of Bangor. They now have a monument there in Clements Park for him. And I remember as a kid, I think Joe Burns, I think your father's John, the mayor at the time, and Giovanni. I worked with Giovanni as a professor there at Broome Community College. I'm throwing these things around because I hope it means something, but sadly, through history, my sister was telling me they marched with Dr. King in Selma. My family's from Selma, Alabama. And so they were kids and they were put in jail. That was real. That was real to them. That's real to me. It's passed on DNA, learned memory, what happens to them that could happen to us. But historically, I guess I'm talking to the people behind me, that the state has never really been on our sides as a people. It has not been the state, it's been the federal government. So I'm saying that the state attorney general cannot do anything, or pretty much won't do anything for you. It's been probably be the DOJ, Department of Justice, that you have to submit this application to. And they get into all these fancy terms. They call it habeas corpus, having a body and all these things. I won't get into all that, but so you have to deal with that. Police have no accountability anywhere you go throughout the country. If you go to the throughout the country, there's no investigative powers, even if you have a group, a citizens group who looks into police affairs when they do things like this. There's no subpoena powers, there's no punitive powers. So that's pretty much it, really. The police, I can't think of their names, but they pretty much, the police unions back the police, and internal affairs do very little to get things done. So I guess we're here tonight. I guess I'm begging the question. It begs the questions: what do you have? You don't have to answer me now, but someone I guess could let me know who has the power. What is your powers? What do you do in light of this? I know as a veteran, the things that we practice, that we train to do, we do it in real life situations. And so I guess I'm saying that to say, are they still, it begs the question, are they still practicing this in the Bennington Police Force to put their knees on someone's neck? So it must be that practice. And so if this is outdated for the federal government, these things trickle down. I guess it takes a time for it to trickle down. That begs the questions, are they still practicing this, learning this technique to take down a person in this manner? So it's concerning. I guess I have a question again. What are your powers? What are your powers, I guess, is the bigger question. What are your powers? And again, for you people behind, if you're not going to let this matter alone, you have to contact the Department of Justice, and you probably should get someone who knows the law to work with you and to move on this situation. But as far as the states have never done anything for us. Look up your history. That's always been the federal government. But if you can be on the right side of history. I hope that term has not been bastardized, but you can get on the right side of history. You do have the powers to do something. You can do that. I beg that you do that tonight. That's it for my part. Right on, right on.
All right, Paul Graham. Let me know when my time starts. All right, bro. You're gonna have your time when you get your time. All right. Okay, but that's it. Paul Graham, Binghamton, New York. Y'all know me. I ain't seen me in a while. I apologized earlier, but I had to get that straight. You know me, Tom. I always come correct, and I've been away for a while. You know me. Giovanni knows me. He was my professor. I've been away a while, and the Bartons know me. The two, Miss Renia knows me. Turk knows me. I don't know about the incident that happened with these people. I heard about it, and I'm not here for that. But I am here to talk about police brutality. It has happened to me in Binghamton, and it's not a joke. So don't take this lightly when these people say that they are upset, because it is true. I'm not talking for them. I'm talking for myself. And when the person that had asked these officers up there, you do not have the capability to help a mental person, because I'm gonna tell you right now, you could not handle me. And I'm gonna tell you that straight up. My mom is a God-fearing woman, and she can't handle me. So back to what I was saying. Some people want to perpetrate stuff. But listen, 2 years from now, I'm going to be up in this city hall. Y'all better get in line, because most of y'all ain't going to be sitting in these damn seats. You understand? Give a damn, vote for Graham. That's the first thing. But the second thing, you understand? I've been away for a while, getting my life together spiritually. And what I see, I'm not going to bring up dead people's mind or lives, because if they happen to this boy, It happened to a million other black people, white people, Asian people, and everybody else in this damn world. And you can't ignore it. So regardless, just like the two brothers up there, the brothers of God said, what are y'all going to do? That's the whole question. I'm not asking you when. I said, what? You ain't got to give me answers because I know you ain't going to say nothing. I know. The money that y'all been given, the same way when Rich was here, when Matt was here, everything. This hasn't changed even since I got here. When I was hanging around with Morgan Crab and when I met, what you call it? Juanita Crab, hanging out her house over on Walnut. Ain't nothing changed. Nothing. And now y'all want to spend money on a damn parking ramp? It's bad enough. Y'all wasting money on these college kids. Every time they come, what y'all see? Red Solo comes. Y'all got closed down bars, closed down streets for bars. When the hell have y'all done anything for these residents, these kids? When? When have you gave these kids any day? The city can't even help the damn kids. You want people to volunteer. You know me. I volunteered for how many years on the east side? Even walked around cleaning up by myself. My mom worked at the high school 30 years. Tell me one of y'all could do any of that. Tell me when the last time y'all did that. My mom's dying from stage 4 cancer. We got bigger problems in this world. Remember a couple weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, we all were sitting here thinking about DeMar Hamlin. And I'm gonna leave it like this. Wake the hell up.
Hey, y'all. So just a couple of things that I wanted to address, just sitting here and listening to people. Mr. Barnett, he was one of my professors at BCC, decided to list all of his credentials, which is fine and good or whatever, but a Black person shouldn't feel like they have to list their credentials to get respect from you. Nobody should. If your son came home with his face looking like that, would that cop still have a job? I'm happy you learned how to make eye contact. Some of my credentials, I was a psych nurse, and now I am an action nurse. And I can tell you right now that the fact that y'all spend all your money defending these police who brutalize people and not helping the people in this community is why y'all are having quote unquote crime. A lot of my patients, it's the same story over and over again. Y'all can try and disparage one or two if you want to, but when it's the same story over and over again, and your reasoning for discrediting them is they don't have the credentials. Oh, don't listen to them. They have a substance disorder. Oh, don't listen to them. Oh, they don't have a job. Right? That's why you're not listening. But that's the same exact reason why these cops think that they can get away with this stuff, because if they don't have the credentials to back it up, then they could just be beaten up. Who cares, right? We care. That's just what it is. We care. And what's crazy is that not only am I a community nurse, so I'm doing the work that y'all should be doing, honestly, and that when y'all don't, allocate these funds in the community, help community, all that stuff comes on to medical staff. Poverty comes to the ER, substance use comes to the ER, homelessness comes to the ER, people having infections that don't go and get medical assistance because they don't have money, they don't have insurance, until it gets so bad that there's nothing else they can do. And y'all y'all wonder why we are short nurses in the medical industry. A whole pandemic happened, y'all didn't help them out either. And now we lifted these, these rent moratoriums, whatever. People are homeless, people are cold, People are starving. People are struggling. People are stressed. I can give you right now a biology lesson on what stress does to the body. Okay? All that stuff goes to the ER. All that stuff goes to nurses. All right? We're not even just talking police brutality right now, which is a huge, huge, huge issue. And we're lucky that we caught it on camera because it was downtown, but y'all be doing this stuff in the shadows. And I know for a fact because I hear it every day from multiple people. And not only that, they get out of jail, right? And they don't have nothing. And who takes care of them? We do. The community does. We find them housing. We get them set up with DSS, right? We check in on them every month. We make sure that they have the medication that they need. And we're just talking, those are just like, you don't know what life's going to throw at you. Suddenly this girl's going through so much, she's barely holding on, and then her mom gets cancer, right? Y'all could not even imagine what the residents of Binghamton, which is 40%, right? Of the children in Binghamton are impoverished. Am I getting that right? Are you kidding me? And y'all are giving more money to people who are beating up your citizens? This is a city council? Who do you work for? Who do you work for? All right? You're supposed to be looking out for citizens of Binghamton, and you're sitting here watching on camera in plain view one of your cops beat them up, and you did nothing about it. And don't even get me started on these school resource officers, because y'all want to allocate money to that, and it has not stopped one school shooting nationwide. So here we have a school resource officer who's pulling exactly what the cops pulled on George Floyd after we had a whole thing about that, right? Y'all are spending money on that when there are people out here who are freezing and suffering. Ashamed of yourself doesn't even matter. And even if you didn't have power, you have power and influence. I am sure that if every single one of you wanted something to happen, it would. I'm sure if every single one of you got out publicly and said, this is not right, we will not stand by this, this cannot happen. I want all the police to know in Binghamton that we will not allow this, that something will happen. We don't have the power you have, and we're here right now doing that, right? Right? I'm taking time out of my day. I got a 40-hour week. Listen, if I beat up one of my patients because they were acting whatever as a psych nurse, if I put my knee on one of my patients' necks, I would be out of a job, and all of you would support that. Okay? And not only that, I learned training. I know how to de-escalate a situation. Whole ass Black woman. You didn't have my credentials before, so you probably wouldn't have thought I was capable of that, but I can. Okay? This is ridiculous, y'all. Ridiculous. And we've been saying this for a while. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but 30% of our annual budget anyway goes to police, right? We don't have community centers for kids at all, anywhere, right? Even adults, right? College kids. If they're, I mean, we know they're not 21, but they're downtown and they're 21, they're still young. They don't have anywhere else to go but to go downtown and drink. And y'all can't allocate funds for venues, right? Whatever. So they're downtown getting drunk, turning up, getting into fights, right? And you want to risk somebody's life for trying to break it up. Come on now. I've lived here since I was 14 years old. I've seen a million fights downtown, and I have very rarely seen police get involved unless it's a Black person, and that's what's really rare. Get it together.
I was actually going to bring up a similar point myself. What would the cops have done if the guy didn't step in? If it's just a bunch of frat boys having a fight? Because I see that all the time. There's massive frat parties right on my block all semester. I don't feel safe with that. I don't feel safe as a trans woman with a bunch of drunk college kids right across my street, spilling into the street. Haven't seen a single cop there during any of that. But the one time somebody, a Black guy steps in to break something up, suddenly cops there. What are they just paid to sit around waiting for a black guy to do something to just warp in? I don't know what you're paying them to do, but you're certainly not paying them to protect me.
So I just really want to just have people put in their minds the comment speaker two speakers ago said that 50% of Binghamton's children are growing up in poverty, if you keep that in the back of your mind. But I got a joke for you. So what's the difference? What's the difference between communist China and the US? So the difference is in communist China, they have secret police. In the US, they have undercover officers. So that's just a little joke. But here's another joke. Community policing. Community policing is a joke. This is for everyone back here. Community policing is a trap. And here's why. So 2022 was one of the deadliest years for police killings in history. The deadliest. Thank you. There was only 12 days where someone was not killed by a police officer. So Binghamton has its own little history of close calls. In 2009 or 2011, one of those years, Metro SWAT busted into a house on Ashley Street, I think, right on the south side, busted into a house during a no-knock raid, shot a dude on the couch who had an Xbox controller in his hand, and he was asleep, just on his couch, asleep, shot him right there. And then this happened with a male. So what I'm saying is Binghamton's probably going to be on that list soon. And here's the thing. We're talking about poverty, and we're talking about $750,000 being diverted from emergency funds into police retention. But this is just a question for everybody. How many of you know how many cameras there are, just police cameras there are in Binghamton, and in what neighborhoods they're in? How many people know that there's license readers almost everywhere coming in and out of the city? How many people know what kind of equipment that the police department has as far as mass surveillance, personal data collection? We don't know any of this. So all I'm saying is that us as taxpayers or whatever, we're basically funding our own oppression. And I want you all to think about that when there's people starving, when there's people homeless, and we don't even know how many cameras there are watching us when we walk around in our neighborhoods. And as far as like this community policing thing goes, we just want to have a friendlier smile on our neck. Yeah, all right.
Hi, so you asked us to identify ourselves for your purposes. I live in Binghamton City. I moved here 5 years ago to go graduate, and I thought Binghamton is going to be a great place to live. It's going to be different than Philadelphia. It's going to be a happy community, and Philly felt safer. So if I had it my way, I'd be at home right now. I just started a new job. I work 40 hours a week plus teaching at Binghamton University. And I'm tired of this shit. So by not speaking up against Binghamton Police Department, you're supporting institutionalized white supremacy. And I'm not here to give you a political science lesson. I wish that Giovanni was here because he has the same training that I do. And the fact that there hasn't been a statement condemning what the police did speaks volumes. I understand HR policies and the desire for public safety. We all want to feel safe. But by all, I mean not just small white women. I mean Black women. I mean people that are of different minorities, and they don't feel safe here. If anyone else had kneeled on the neck of another individual, they'd be arrested. They'd be charged. From 2020, we learned that legally, this practice is condemned and outright banned and is not supposed to be enacted by the police. And yet your silence makes you complicit. I understand that there are different roles in the bureaucracy of Binghamton and of Broome County, But the fact that there's been no statement and the fact that the mayor has called this a tired complaint means that you are supporting white supremacy. And in a diverse city like Binghamton, that support is more damning than anything else. I understand if you're going to funnel money towards different projects that they maybe shouldn't go to, because that's politics. You know, we have to keep constituents happy. But look at the constituents that are sitting behind me. We're not happy. People don't feel safe. And quite frankly, I'm sick of feeling safer in Philly than I am here. I moved here 5 years ago and people have asked me, you know, if you were to get a tenure track faculty job, would you take it? No, I wouldn't, because I don't want to have my life here when I know that I'm protected, but no one else is. So Binghamton Police Department is hoping that we forget about this. They want us to be tired of it and to go home and go back to our jobs and watch people at the bars and watch all of the fights. But we're not going to forget. This happened on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, 3 a.m., and we're still here. And this has been one of the most quiet acts of police brutality I've seen since 2009, 2010, when I became aware of it. But the fact is that by your own power as the city council, you have the power to make a statement condemning this. This officer shouldn't be put on desk duty, when by policy, he can be suspended without pay. And I understand being cautious and reviewing what happened and talking to other officers that were there. But the fact that he's on desk duty means he still engages with the public. And yes, there is body cam video. He gets paid by taxpayers. And the fact that you won't make some kind of statement condemning it in any sense is why we're all here. We want some kind of accountability. And, you know, city council tries to say that you speak for all of us, but your silence is not speaking.
Hi, I'm tired of trying to reform the police. I am, reform doesn't stop these acts of police brutality. People like Amiel will continue to be brutalized if police exist. Police exist only to protect property, and they are literally legally not forced to protect people. The Supreme Court of this beautiful land has told them they don't have to do that. They are here. Why do they have tanks? Why do they have tanks? If not to go to war against their constituents, the citizens of the city they live in. Abolition is not about having no safety or care, because that'll come with community and having actual resources to go to when you're in need, instead of having to call up some dude with a gun to have to tell your trauma to, or have the dude with the gun literally put his knee on your neck to traumatize you himself. Reform is bullshit. Like, excuse my language. Abolition now or police brutality will continue to exist because it is important to the system of policing. Policing cannot exist without it, and it will not, ever. That's it.
Hello, I am a special educator. I've worked with kids of all sizes, all strengths, various backgrounds. All strengths. I am not a strong person. I have had my rotator cuff torn by a student. I've been, someone attempted to stab me with a shard of glass. I've had students bring in knives, drugs, alcohol, threaten to assault me, threaten to sexually assault me. Now ask me how many necks I've kneeled on. In my lifetime, I have kneeled on precisely 0 necks. And somehow, with no funding, mind you, I managed to do my job and educate your children. So, my question for you to ponder, as I hope you struggle to fall asleep tonight, why is it that I can do my job without harming human beings with no funding, but your officers got all of our slush fund and they still have to attack Black folks? I'm not going to say thank you.
I wish Sophia Rossanetti was here for this one because um so just recently I witnessed her husband's Black tenants get violently apprehended by police, and whoever works for him was shouting racial slurs at them, threatening to assault them, and this was all happening to his knowledge. And y'all can't make it 2 hours into a new year without assaulting a Black man. This is insane. The only reason that situation did not escalate is because community support was there. We keep us safe.
I work. A number of years ago, we brought all of the Binghamton 7th graders to this building for a tour because we wanted to teach them and empower them about their rights as a Binghamton citizen. Those kids are close to graduation now, and I regret the decision to try to empower them because now I know that they cannot navigate these systems, that these systems are built to oppress them, and they can't even get here safely because the police are stealing on their necks because they're trying to do due diligence in protecting people on the street. That's all I can say.
I always said kids would speak with their sisters so they get tall and their voice gets deeper. Now they're not kids anymore. Now you have to get that phone the hallway, giving them high fives, and then doing a day at the park with police, holding them and pushing them on the swing. And when they grow up, they got these on their neck.
Okay. I wrote this out so that I can avoid my emotions affecting the way my words come out. My name is Amani Waddell. I am one of Amiel's sisters. I'd just like to take a moment to share a bit of him with you all. First, I'd like to say how grateful my family is to everyone that has shown love and support for Amiel during this hardship. Thank you to all of y'all. My brother is a light. Those who've been granted the privilege of truly knowing him will agree that he is such a bright, sensitive, intelligent, strong-willed, passionate, and protective person. I know that there are people out there that have or will create their own narratives of him and our family to excuse this injustice that has been forced upon him. But no matter which way you try to spin it, Brad Kaczynski of BPD was malicious and incredibly inconsiderate for human life. The very least we each deserve in this life is humanity. My brother deserves at least that, and that's exactly what he was deprived of that night. Let me paint this picture for you all. and this is going to be hard. Imagine you've just had your face brutally dragged along the concrete. Now you're lying on your stomach with your hands bound behind your back, and suddenly a man that towers over you like the Jolly Green Giant shoves his knee into your neck and back while he hangs out there just carelessly, resting his body weight on your neck for what feels like hours. You are anything but careless. As you're screaming out to the people surrounding you, you feel it become harder to breathe. Your mind is racing. Your life is flashing before your eyes. You ask yourself, am I going to be the next Black man to be robbed of his life at the hands of the police? Will your mom be able to hold it together to continue raising your brothers and sisters? How are your younger siblings going to move through life when they've never known a life without you? How your girlfriend would now be having to adjust to being a single mother while grieving her partner. You wonder how your daughters will remember you if they have to grow up without their dad. You have an infinite number of thoughts racing through your head in a matter of seconds, each thought more traumatic than the last. Then finally, you feel the weight lifting off your shoulders. You can breathe again. You're grateful to be alive, but how do you feel after experiencing such trauma? How do you go back to your daily routine after that? When your 4-year-old asks worriedly what happened to your face, how do you explain to her that the police did it? People who she thought were supposed to protect and serve the community, yet they abuse and batter instead. It's a crazy experience to imagine, isn't it? This is my brother's reality. It's no secret that the way policing is done in America is intrinsically corrupt and often inhumane. But that will not shy us away from fighting for the justice that not only Amiel deserves, but all of us deserve. And for anyone labeling my brother as a criminal, understand me thoroughly. Amiel is a father, a son, a brother, a nephew, a cousin, a grandson, a friend, a person, a human being that deserves to be treated as such. Our family will do our best to continue to walk in love. We will face this battle head on with grace and power together. And we hope that you all will join us in this journey. Justice for Amiel.
Good evening. I just want to first say that that's what bravery looks like. What cowardice looks like is what this body did or has continued to neglect, has continued to allow this sort of policing to happen in the city of Binghamton. That's cowardice, that's bravery. You know, this is not the first time we've talked about policing and police brutality in city of Binghamton. It's not the second time, it's not the third time, it's not the fourth time, it's not the fifth time, it's not the sixth time. Since I've returned from college, I grew up here. Since I returned from college, I've been involved in, I don't know, several dozen protests about policing and police brutality. I remember when the police, the 4 of them took a kid who had mental challenges, shoved him to the ground, and like put their whole weight on him. You saw those videos. I saw those videos. This was at a school It was at Horace Mann. Thank you. It's around the, right around the corner from me, right? There was they took a 14-year-old girl and they took her in handcuffs as she's crying and pleading. and the police officer walks up to the camera and says, "There's nothing to see here," basically says that she's big enough, she's tall enough to be an adult, so she should be treated like that. They were accused of, by the way, graffitiing. They were accused of being kids. I actually didn't intend to come up here and make exactly those comments, because I also want to note that this body had the opportunity. I'll echo what Tarek said earlier. This body was mandated by the state of New York, an executive order to, start rethinking what policing should look like. You've heard many comments from people this evening that is pretty clear that the policing that we have is not the policing that we need here in the city of Binghamton. It's not solving people's problems. And in fact, and it's putting people in jeopardy and in harm. By miserably failing, by not going forward, not even pretending to go along with the process, quite frankly. That's what I saw. I helped organize the public comment periods, having people come out and talk to you, sitting on the parks on the weekend, talking to people, asking people what they wanted. There was hundreds and hundreds of people that participated in those things. Far more people than speak to this body in public comment every year, I'm sure, right? And what did you do? You shut down public meetings, you impugned us, you berated us, you told us not to swear, and then shut down meetings. I was accused of being a member of a mob intent on hurting one of your members in a public statement. Oh, and then the mayor has the gall to say that these are tired demands. By the way, just writing note, he just used a bunch of platitudes to contest that, by the way. But what people are asking for is to imagine that public safety is not coterminous with policing. In fact, it has very little to do with it. Policing don't protect crime, or police do not prevent crime. Police do very little except protect property. And as far as I can tell, sit in parking lots and eat donuts, because that's what I see them doing pretty routinely, as you do, right? So I just want to make the larger point that this body here is part of the blue wall of silence. This body here is the reason why police officers feel like they can hurt people in the course of doing their job. That's why, because you've refused consistently to even have the inkling that you would hold someone accountable for the job they do, or for when they hurt somebody, right? And in fact, this body has routinely, or members of this body and other governments here have used the police for political purposes. One of your members has done it recently. I've been arrested for, I was arrested for blocking an egress while 200 people were standing in a room, and I was arrested for blocking an egress at the Broome County Legislature. So I just want to make the point that this body has, it's not even a lack of imagination. It's that by being so unwilling to hold people accountable, by rethinking what policing could look like, and making rational, reasonable investments in like our community here, rather than catering to the students, investing in our actual community, the people that are actually here, the people who will be here, you've decided to do otherwise. Instead, your version of police reform is what? Training, more cops, more surveillance technology. Guess what? You've been doing that for 150 years. That's the history of police reform in the United States. And we still have police brutality. It's not going to go away. It's going to continue as such. If you continue as such, you allow it to happen. You allow it to happen.
I have spoken to the Republican majority members of this council enough times in the last decade to know better than to show up tonight expecting you to do the right thing of your own volition. In fact, if I remember correctly, the last time I stood in front of this council, it was former President Strawn who stated very clearly that it was not your role in your position as an elected council member to do the right thing. So that is not why we are here tonight. We are here on behalf of Amiel, his family, and others who are consistently and perpetually brutalized by Binghamton Police Department officers, to state very clearly, we've made our demands, those aren't in question, but to very clearly state, not only in this case do we have video, but we will continue to survey. We will continue to show up. We have video waiting in the wings of BPD officers harassing and outright displacing violently unhoused members of our community. That is the reputation that BPD has and has had. And that is a reputation and a practice that you continue to allow and perpetuate by your inaction. I'm not the first tonight to say that your silence is complicit. And I won't be the last, but we will continue to show up. And if you hold that you continue to accountable, we will continue to take that on. So you'll see us here, you see us tonight, you'll continue to see us. We're not going away, and we will elevate and escalate as much as we need to.
Okay, so I'd say shame on you if y'all were capable of feeling shame, but that's clearly not the case. I feel like this is like the Groundhog Day movie where we just do the same thing a million times. There are some people here, Major Barnett, who I've known since BCC, and we've been going to rallies and protests and speak outs almost 10 years, and it only becomes more aggravating, and it only becomes more of a feeling of defeat every time. You know, I used to be angry. I used to come here and just like curse and yell, and I'm too tired. Like, I don't even come out to half of these events, half of these gatherings anymore because I'm tired. So if I do say good job for that. Good job for killing my spirit. But I know in the end, the world is changing, and y'all are gonna have to accept that. You know, this cop kneeling on this kid's neck, Officer Brad, Officer Frankenstein, that's what we used to call him. You know, Lurch. Yeah, Lurch. Word. That fits better. But yeah, him and his off-duty buddies jumped my dad many years ago because they can do it, because they can make their own rules. Off the job, you know what they do in uniform. Imagine what they do without it, when they don't have to have body cams on. They make their own rules, just like everyone at this table does. Just like you can decide what votes count and which don't. And half of you can't even make eye contact. This guy's on his phone again. He's picking his favorite point at the wall to stare at. And these cops here, you know, all the ones, these two here, whoever is hiding behind the walls, whoever's not in this room, whoever's watching this on the security cameras, all that's on their mind, they're not thinking about how can we fix this? How can we be better for this community? They're thinking about what do we do if this gets out of hand? who are we gonna go for first? Who's gonna get their hands, like, that's what they think. That's how they're trained to think. They're not trained to diffuse. You can see that when they work outside with people having episodes, when people are escaping from Binghamton General Hospital and they have their, they're having a mental health issue. They don't know how to handle that. That's not what they're trained for. They're trained for confrontation. They're trained to subdue. I've had cops lie to me to my face. Ever since I was 17 years old, when I was a kid, I was vulnerable. Cops don't mess with me as much anymore because I'm older. They target who's vulnerable. That includes children, and that includes people who can't defend themselves. I mean, I don't think you'd be surprised, or maybe you would, by how many disabled people are attacked by police because they know they got the advantage. And they don't mess with me as much anymore because I'm older, or maybe I don't drive a busted up car like I used to. Even though it worked, I got pulled over more just because I was broke. I had a terrible vehicle. They target whoever they can take advantage of, So I know after this is over, you're going to have your, go back to not getting anything done and be putting money towards police again. Money that has to come from us, even though every day I see the community protect itself better than the police ever have. What do you think happened before police existed? You think it was just chaos like before? Like, there's chaos right now. You ever look around in Binghamton? There's chaos everywhere.
Good evening. I'm going to start out by saying something that should be pretty obvious. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. I feel like a Verizon commercial. Yeah, so I'm going to start out with something pretty obvious. With great power comes great responsibility. All right. And we have people run around town, a body of people who are allowed to use deadly force, have weapons with which they can ensure that deadly force is accomplished. We also have a body here with great power. All right. Our government, we have a representational form of democracy, and you all have been elected to represent the community, the citizens of the city. And it just strikes me, I mean, I'm sick at heart to see what's happened to this city. I am sick at heart. The people in charge, and obviously I would include the police in this because they're certainly in charge, right? And yourselves should be the cream of the crop of this community, should be the most selfless, compassionate, caring people in this community. All right. And I want to ask each one of you, do you care about every person in this community? Every person. Do you care about every person in this community? Not just those that benefit you, that line your pockets, or, you feel, oh, let's make my constituents more rich. Do you, sir, looking down, not meeting my eyes, do you, sir, care about every person in this community? Do you, sir, care about every person in this community? Do you, sir, care about every person in this community? Do you, ma'am, do you care about every person in this community without bias, without preference? Do you, sir, care about every person in this community? Do you, sir, care about every person in this community? Thank you. Thank you for your response. You cannot have a community where you have two tiers of care and justice. You can't. I hear all this concern about public safety, right? In 1972, Pope Paul VI said, if you want peace, work for justice. Peace, not just world peace, community peace, all right? And if you insist on constantly degrading certain people in the community at the expense of others, you ensure that there will never be public safety. You ensure that no one will have respect for the law or respect for you. All right? It can't happen. It cannot happen until each of us is willing to respect each other, treat each other fairly, and with compassion. And as I said, I have lived in this community my whole adult life. After I got out of grad school, I worked at Linked Flight Simulation for many years. I have worked for the military. I have had access to some of the most classified material in this country. So I am trustworthy. All right, I've proven that I am trustworthy. I am recently retired from Binghamton University, where I taught for over 20 years. I felt when I was teaching that it was very important for me to have respect and care about every one of my students, regardless of whether their family had a $400,000 income or their family came from downstate and was on welfare. Everyone in this society should have an opportunity to flourish and to be successful. And that can't happen when certain people get beat up, apparently, because of the way they look. I honestly, I can't even fathom it. I just can't even fathom it. You know, why someone who's trying to break up a fight would be the one that is dragged through the street and assaulted. It's unbelievable in this day and age, and it's totally unacceptable. And as I started out with, you know, it's not rocket science. You guys have been elected to bring up this community, all right? To cause this community to flourish. And I just feel that your policies are not doing that. Your policies are pitting citizens against each other. I mean, I'm retired from Binghamton University. You know, I understand what the university brings the city, but what it can't bring is injustice and unfairness. All right. And I'm seeing more and more injustice and unfairness. Number one, in the way people are treated. Number two, in the roots of the housing crisis in the city. which is totally unacceptable. We are entering a period where this is no longer a community for families. Tell me how that's right. Tell me how that's right. And if you start supporting frat boys who are thugs over community members who live here, there's a problem. All right? Please look into your hearts and ask yourself, are you truly representing all of the people? Because we're not going to flourish as a community until you do. Said my piece.
My name's Asia. I'm one of Amiel's other sisters. I just want to say I'm completely disgusted in not only how this government works, the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer my whole life. And the way the system works is just so terrible. It's built on the fact that Black people should and people of color should always be below white people, and it continues to be it continues, and it shows the injustice throughout history. It doesn't get better. It continues to get worse. It just gets better at hiding it. And then people want to go into it and change it.
Mr. Rogers, my daughter matters. My daughter matters. My son matters. Do you hear me? Yes, I know your name. You don't have a name tag. Mr. Rogers, my family matters. Do you hear me? You have not looked at anybody up here speaking. Do you see my child?
I'm disgusted in this system, and the fact that this is the only job I ever wanted was to be a freaking lawyer. And I don't even know if I want to continue that, because it's either be a lawyer in a terrible system and to support terrible laws, terrible ethics, everything, or just not follow my dreams. So thank you so much for making me absolutely hate my one dream, because none of you are changing anything. You're putting in no effort. All that budgeting, instead of cutting from schools, community programs. I know exactly how this works. I'm a history and poli-sci student. I learned about it. I know. All that, it goes straight. You take once your budgets go down and you have to make up and take budgeting out, when you have to make cuts, it goes straight from community programs, straight from schools. But you continue to put more money into police departments, into systems that treat their communities terribly. And it's absolutely atrocious that you guys continue to do this. You make no changes. You make no effort. You don't care about what we have to say 75% of the time. And if you pretend to listen, you will never do anything to change it, because it was not only built on the fact that the police department, all of the community things, like the police department, the legal system, all of it, it was made so that slavery could continue. It was made to keep Black people and people of color under oppression. And it will never change it. They'll either just get better at hiding it, and then they get called out, they'll just hide it more. There's always ways to hide it. And the fact that you guys allow them to continue hiding it, and you sit here quietly looking bored out of your minds, absolutely disgusts me.
How could you be so bored of this? These are people's lives. These are our lives. This is my brother and his daughter. And then that part, even if he was
I can't even. Listen, I want to say that I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry your family is going through this. I'm really sorry. And I have so much I want to say to all of you. So much I want to say, but you know what? I'm not going to. You could have prevented this. You could have prevented all of this. You know that. You know that, Mr. Burns. You sat on that reform committee. You all know that because you allowed it to go on. You knew this was coming. You were told, and you have a responsibility to fix it. And if you can sit and listen to these people pour their hearts out, all of this community, and tell you what's wrong and what they need, and still continue to pull the veil down on every piece of legislation you pass, and continue to fund the police department without consideration for any of the other community concerns. Shame on all of you. And I want to say one more thing and then I'm done. And I want to speak to my 3 Democratic council members right now. I just want to say something to you right now. You guys have the ability. Yes, you're in the minority. Yes, there's only 3 of you. You have the ability to make a statement when something's wrong. You have the ability to speak out when you're in these meetings and on this board. Speak out loud enough so that the community hears you, even if they're not in the room. There's all sorts of ways to do that, and you know that. And you know what? Why don't you demonstrate it? Demonstrate it tonight. There's 3 of you here. Pull your names off every piece of legislation and don't pass a thing. Show them you have the power.
So I'm not going to disclose my name or where I work, but I could tell you that I work in the hospitality business. My job is downtown. We're open until 4 in the morning. We feed these drunk college kids. We feed the cops during the day, probably a lot of you people. And I can say that our kitchen staff, our whole staff has probably been in a lot more dangerous situations than half of these cops out here. And I've had some scary walks home and never before have the thought of choking someone, kneeling on their neck or taking their life crossed my mind. So when people get violent at my job, we even put our hands on somebody that we're probably losing our job. So the least you guys can do is take that job, is at least let him go. That's the very least. It's not, we're not trying to put him in jail or anything. Just lose him jail. Well, that's too much to ask for. We're trying to be nice, but another thing is, I just went out there, asked where the bathroom was told that there is no bathroom. So first off, I had to ask permission to perform a bodily function, a basic bodily function, by your boys out there. And again, our job, we feed half these fucks. We feed them. So we feed a lot of you people probably too, So, my issue is basically having to ask permission for that, having to ask permission. Quite frankly, I don't see why I don't just piss on your floor right now, because that is the level of respect you are showing this community, that we are not worth a pot to piss in. Y'all just told us we're not worth a pot to piss in. So, yeah.
For the record, there are bathrooms up here, just so you know. Why are we escorting people to the bathroom? Why are we escorting people to the bathroom?
Oh. Is that better? Is that good? Okay. I had to thank you to the family for your words. That yeah. I'm a bit of a crybaby, excuse me. So I came up here to say this. Many years ago, don't ask, mind your business. I was a young lady sitting in a Binghamton High School lunchroom. A young Black child was arguing with a teacher. The results? She ended up on the hard ground, handcuffed, and with 3 full grown men on her back. Her crime? She was hungry. It was her first meal of the day and she cut the line. I can't begin to imagine the deeply rooted trauma that that child had to go through. What I can speak to is the 80+ students who were in that cafeteria, who witnessed this insane act of aggression. Incidents like this are like a drop of water that ripple. They not only get deeper, they get bigger, they multiply. I've never forgotten that incident, nor the multitude of acts I've witnessed throughout the years. Someone picking up my friend, driving her around, telling her that when he feels like it, he can make her disappear. I've had people in uniform follow my brother home, tell him they can't wait till he turns 18. The pure rage and hate that I witnessed while at a protest, with officers holding the same shields and batons that they probably hit my predecessors with. How can I, someone who was a bystander to these events, trust? You ask the community to trust over and over and over again. Put your trust in us, we'll take care of you. When I have been shown time and time again that there can be no trust. It's time to uproot the dead, decaying system. Stop this domestic terrorism, or we will.
All right. I'm gonna start this off confessing something that I'm not personally proud of. A few years ago, I used to work with Endicott Auxiliary Police. Now you're wondering, I'm out there. What the fuck? What do I have to do around here? I worked with BPD. I worked with VPD. I worked with EPD. All the different departments around here. And while I regret that decision to this day, there is one thing that I learned. This is not some fairy tale. This is not some incident, some coincidence, some very unfortunate incident. This is practice. I witnessed time and time again these incidences of brutality on our own people. And I know what you're all thinking, because I can see it on your faces. Why are they doing this? Why? I just want to go home. I don't want to have to deal with any of this. You want to know why? This is why. This is why we continue to fight. And we're not going to stop fighting, damn it. We are going to sit here until our dying breaths defending these people, because damn it, they deserve it. Even when your own officers will not defend us, we will.
It's a little difficult to know where to start. I'm not from Binghamton. I'm from Johnson City, although I've owned homes. Joe would like this in Johnson City, Binghamton, and Endicott. I'm previously employed at SUNY Binghamton University. One reason why I'm here is because this thing that seems to unite the three cities is not our taxes. I just wrote mine to Johnson City, but the police forces and the school resource officers. And you've heard from other people tonight from Endicott. I was glad to hear someone from outside the city speak to the issue. But all of us face an overcommitment to school resource officers and the police that back them. In every single city, we see the same phenomenon. And you see it in this case. I wasn't surprised that the officer in this case was a school resource officer or that it happened at Dillinger's. A lot of people in this room will remember back when we were protesting outside the beatdown of another young black kid at Dillinger's, or on the right, or in Endicott, the tasing of another black, or in Bristol, right, what happened to a young kid in the schools there, or in the middle school case here. This is a common syndrome. There's a lot of weariness tonight because people have been at this too long and they're frankly fed up and they're not going to come to more reform meetings. Just not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're going to and say, you need to reinvest the funds that was paid for this officer. A lot of officers in the local area earn. The normal pay for a school teacher median is half that, right? So we have a situation where we can't pay our school teachers. We have a situation where we're going to close down schools, and we have school earning. Do I need to switch? School resource officer. Yeah, earning, $100,000 a year. It's a serious problem. The last time I looked, because it's not in the city budgets, you have to do a Freedom of Information Act. We spent about $1.5 million a year on school resource officers. That's really a pittance compared to, police budgets, but it's real money. You can buy a lot of school teachers. You can buy a lot of counselors. You can buy a lot of nurses for $1.5 million. City councils like this make the decisions, right? When I came here tonight, I went past all the license plate readers on Riverside Drive. They're out on 434. When you enter the city, you're under constant surveillance. Where does that end up? Where do all the police departments get together? In the new Fusion Intelligence Center built in the old Binghamton Fire Department just across from here. That's, again, I think it's ARPA money. I'm sure Tariq could tell us, right? So we're funding a place where the local police and all these counties and cities can get together, linked to the CIA, the FBI, the NSA. This is what intelligence centers do. You don't believe me? Look at the book written by a Binghamton University professor. It's there. All the data that we've got, all the Congressional Research Office studies that we've got show you that the more you invest in school resource officers, the greater you get not safety, right, but unsafety in public schools. Schools that have school resource officers, again, just simply by the straight statistics, show that you reinforce racial disparities, disproportionate rates of detention, and disproportionate rates of arrest that simply leads into what we call the school to prison pipeline. You think it doesn't happen in Binghamton School, right? Look at the school district. Binghamton spends the most on armed and private security, right, of any of the local school districts. Black students are suspended at 2.5 times the rate for white students. There's a 26% dropout rate, vastly exceeding any other student groups. It's true in the county as well. If you look at the county, Black folks are about 10% of the youth, but they're 43% of people, juveniles detained, and 50% of those on probation supervision. This is the systemic problem that we have, right? No, it's not right. And I think people here are, in some ways saying we're fed up. And I want to make one last point, and this is about the training of police, because it's going to be all too easy for the officer in this case to retire. He graduated in October 2003. He has his 20 years in. Unlike those of us who are teachers, we don't graduate after 20 years or retire and get a 50% pension. He's likely to retire, and you'll say, okay, we've swept this problem away. But you're not going to sweep the problem away, right? We've got a much more serious problem. Where are all these policemen trained? They're trained at the Regional Police Training Academy, which is up on the hill above Broome Community College, run by a sheriff who'd been in office for 60 years and who just got unelected and run out of office. The problem is his replacement was his trainee, right? And he has appointed as his undersheriff, the person who trained police previously, including training the police officer or the correction officer who smuggled in fentanyl and other drugs recently into the jail. This is what's going on. This is the police academy training, right? That during the start of COVID ran its academy, unlike schools, right? Unlike the university, unlike nursing homes, with the officers marching 1 or 2 feet behind the march step. And if you don't believe it, look at the pictures online. We don't care if these people get COVID or they pass it on. At the sheriff's operation, you don't need to talk about COVID. You don't need to get vaccinated. And he refuses to let people go into the jail. We've got a problem up on the Hill. It's countywide. It's expensive, right? We need to think of a way to eliminate that training program. The mayor said he was disgusted, right? He was disgusted that someone had the temerity to say, we need to close down the place that trains these officers who do this to our kids in this town. You've got to be kidding. The rest of us are disgusted with the mayor and those who fund his operations.
Something funny? So the mayor says that these are tired demands. He says that there's an investigation and that we should be ignored because we're extreme. We're making extreme proposals that the community does not support. We are the community. There are people in this room who are working the equivalent of a second full-time job, doing the shit that you won't do. They're going out multiple nights a week to check on the unhoused people, the people that you refuse to house because you're doing the bidding of the mayor's office always, because you're such moral, community concerned people. They're providing medical care. They're getting people food. They're taking people at the things that they need. They're rescuing women from domestic violence situations. We keep us safe, and we have to keep people safe from the cops you insist on funding. Now, Joe, I see Joe clapping when Amiel's precious family is up here talking. Anytime that police funding has come up, when police issues have come up, Joe has not been on our side. In fact, Joe actually breaks ranks with his party often on this issue. So I'd like to see a little bit more of action and a little less performance on the part of Councilman Burns. And over the last couple of years, when these meetings have been online, Tom Scanlon has made a point whenever anybody brings up the police in public comment, and even when people don't bring up the police in public comment, to go out of his way to be a bootlicker at the end of the meeting and talk about how much he loves cops and how great the cops are and he loves the cops. And then he sits here and laughs at us while we sit here and tell him what a pig that he is. Fuck you. Fuck the police. I know none of you will probably listen to my words. And at the end of the night, most of you will probably forget I was even up here. However, I'm a native son of Binghamton. I'm a Binghamton University graduate. And like Amiel, I am a father of a mixed race child. And after every incident that goes by, I wonder how old is he going to be until he's tall enough, like my brother-in-law, for him to get
a boot on his neck? How long until he fits a description? How long do we have to let this go? How long are we going to let this go? Each of you in this room, including you and everyone else who refuse to meet the gaze of the people that come up here, the people who have been traumatized by the system that you fund, the people who do the job that the people in this room refuse to do, that they would prefer to fund drunk college kids from downstate and protect them instead of the residents of this community, the people that make this community function, the people that actually put you in power and give you the power and the trust. Yes, that's the word. The trust that some of you do not deserve. I'm also a civil servant. Like many of the police, or at least dubbed. Had I been put in a position like that and put a knee on somebody's neck, I would have been out on my ass the next day. I would have had charges against me and I would have been up at Broome County lockup. It wouldn't have been 24 hours. And he was put on desk duty instead. I wouldn't be sitting over in one of the state office buildings. I'd be in jail. But I'm a second-class citizen. I'm not privileged enough to be a police officer who is funded by this body, who is enabled by this body, and has been for as long as I can remember. I grew up here in the 80s. I thought I was safe, but I was white. I knew better because I'm Jewish. I know historically what law enforcement does to Jews that step out of line. I was raised with that. I was raised with the knowledge from Holocaust survivors who experienced that firsthand at the hands of well-armed, well-funded brown shirts and SS soldiers. And I see that everything here going the exact same way. Fund law enforcement, marginalize people, and dehumanize people and put them into camps that we call jails. People, this might be my first time up here, but I know people back there that are up here over and over and over again and have been saying the same thing for decades and nothing has changed. This is not the 80s. We do not have the funding of people employed by IBM, Martin Marietta, or other government contractors. Instead, we need to support this community. Defund the police and put the funds back into the community where we can house people, feed people, and most of all, keep people alive. Thank you.
So we all know how the police started out, right? They started out as slave catchers. I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to look to you. What is that? What's that? Chanel? What's that? YSL you got up there, miss? Oh yeah, that is. She got the Chanel sitting up here at the people's meeting right now. The person. Actually, this was the same. You're the same council that gave Isaac Ansrud a slap on the wrist today.
in court. So I definitely know that y'all not about the people. I definitely know that y'all not about the people. Y'all just, oh, actually, everybody go look at this police officer over here, T. Williams. Yeah, T. Williams. Definitely one, a sellout. Two, I had a run-in with him summer of 21, and he had stopped two disabled folk, him and some officers. And I was making, and it was two black folks. I was making sure that they were okay. I was just filming. I wasn't saying anything. I was by myself, so I wasn't agitating them. This dude wants to say, oh, I'm about to walk away. I'm about to leave. He wants to be like, what do you want to give them some money? In a smart aleck way. And I was leaving the situation. So I came back because the officer's like you're toxic. You're a toxic officer. You know that? You know you're a toxic, and I think you have a lot of internalized racism in you. But besides the point, I want y'all to look at this picture right here. I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen it enough. Y'all know what's going on. You look tired as hell. You should quit your job. Like, you definitely should quit your job. I'm telling you right now, if you're a police officer, you should definitely quit your job, because I know you don't want to be here right now. I know that. But we're up here all the time, can plan, and I watched you guys give the ARPA funds money to the police. That money is supposed to go into the community, like it's been reiterated up here time and time again. And Mr. Joe Burns, I watched as you had, I think, what was it? The council was voting on giving ARPA funds to the police, and you voted to give them the funds. No, you did. You did, because there was one person absent. I remember watching that, and you had the ability to vote nay, and you voted yay. You voted against your party. I remember that. Because that shit pissed me the fuck off. Oh, see, we're gonna waste some more of your guys' time. Yeah. What time is this meeting over at? Pool streets? Man, you guys need to drop these charges. You guys need to wake up, look in the mirror. But this is also the city that you had a white supremacist leave who's from Binghamton, who grew up in Binghamton, and went to shoot up Buffalo because it has the most black people out there. He didn't shoot up. You want to know what kept us safe? There's not enough black people out here for him to kill. And who was he raised around? This community has been, the backbone of it is white supremacy. This used to be the headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan. If you didn't know that, go look that up. But you want to sit here and act like we've been saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm fucking tired. I'm tired. We're tired. Like, do you not hear us? This shit is falling on deaf ears. We're not paid. We're not getting paid to be here tonight. But y'all motherfuckers don't care. You want to fucking give slumlords a slap on the wrist, right? You can't even get the dockets in order. You can't even get the dockets right. You can't even do your job right. Do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. But you can't even do that. Fucking, you're sick.
Hey, I'm not sure if I can give you one more item, but I did want to mention this one incident. You know, in my years at SUNY, a lot of times students would confide in me about various things, and I know that I also heard a lot of bad things from my own sons growing up, and from students who were frightened, you know, about various things that happened to them. But one of the most chilling incidents that I heard about from a student who was terrified was from a local white boy. All right, a young white boy who was harassed at gunpoint by 6 officers in what was an apparent prank. Now, you have to be a sociopath to pull this shit on anyone. But I want to point out that for, this body is largely white. I'm not blind. And for those of you who think that therefore your children are safe, this is someone else's problem, guess again. Because when these guys are allowed to do what they do with impunity, then it becomes sport. All right? Sport to harass, endanger, and terrify local people. And as I said, this student wasn't just a SUNY student, he was a local fellow, all right, a young local boy. And after this incident, he went on to have a very difficult time coping because of the panic attacks and fear and nightmares that he had from this incident. And this was nothing where he had been doing anything to cause trouble, or, I mean, this seemed to have been a prank. And as I said, it was just about the most chilling story I heard from a student in my years at SUNY Binghamton. So, if you're not going to take care of the problem will just continue to get worse until it becomes your problem. I think we've all heard that old saying about, well, first they came for the Jews and then they came for the Catholics. And finally, when they came for me, there was no one to stand up for me. Well, that's what's eventually going to happen if all of you decide to look the other way and let all of this nonsense continue. Because people who do these sorts of things, they're not right in the head. They don't care about people. They take joy in hurting people and terrifying people. And if those are the folks who are keeping our community safe, well, God help us.
Check, check. Okay. I do want to say a few things just sitting here and like listening to all this. Mainly, I want to thank everyone who came here. We don't have to end. This isn't the end, but y'all can make noise for yourselves just because this is important. I think you should acknowledge that. Check, check. Sorry, I don't know if this works, but it's not like a rapper mic. To the sister who wants to be a lawyer, you can still do that. There's still need for advocacy in the legal system. But even if there's no justice to be had, and I promise you, you won't have a YSL bag to get if you work in the legal field the way we need you. There's no money over here, but we can use lawyers. There's a lot of people in here who've been arrested recently. They can attest to that. We need free lawyers too. So can't promise you no money, but we could definitely use some help on the legal side. If you sell out though, you could have a nice bag like that. So real quick, a lot of people don't know this. I got into advocacy not like around race or gender or anything, even though I went to school for that. I got into advocacy because of disability rights. My mother was in a wheelchair, and she passed 11 years ago. And I kind of got thrust into the whole like disability world. And I was like, oh, this is wild. Like, y'all don't have the same right. Like the amount of restrictions was overwhelming. We went from having a really hard life to like an extremely hard life because of my mother's disability. So I got really into like disability work. I started researching disability activists of the 70s and the 60s, and the stuff they were doing was intense. It was breaking sidewalks and blocking buildings, not letting people in, shutting down, highways. A lot of that stuff came from the disability rights movement. Don't worry about it. This ain't even for him, like, honestly. So, so disability rights was kind of how I got into this whole thing. And I say that for two reasons. One, when I came up, there was a lot of folks in here were like canes, and people had difficulty getting up the stairs. And I asked the officers downstairs, I'm like, how to open the elevator? Like, how can people get in? And they didn't want to open it. I said, oh, I got a prosthetic, turn on the elevator. So they get me in the elevator, take me upstairs. Then they're like, oh, we don't have the key. We can't let anyone through the doors. I'm like, how do you let disabled folks get in here? She's like, oh, they walk up the stairs. So to people on council who do care, I just feel like, I don't know if you ever see folks in chairs in here, but they're pretending they don't know how to let people in an accessible way. And that's a major problem. I want that addressed too. That's kind of an aside. That ain't right. Like, what is going on? Like, they purposely are trying to keep folks out. That's why they got armed guards by the bathroom and behind here. They're trying to discourage us from coming in. This isn't about accessibility. This isn't about justice. This is about maintaining their system. So I hate when I hear folks complain, oh, you weren't at the city council meeting. You tried to go there. The bathrooms are guarded. The elevator don't work. They got 6 cops you got to go through to get here. So that we're here because we're privileged and we're determined, but not everybody is willing to go through that. And that's cool. Right? I just want to talk quickly about the whole police training thing. 4th of July, 2021, there was an incident at the Walmart in Syracuse, DeWitt. It's like right outside of Syracuse. I couldn't believe it. The lady was this black woman in Walmart, some sort of disturbance. They called the police. The footage is unreal. The cop like runs in, immediately determines who the threat is or who the police were called for, runs up and just punches the woman in the face. It's unreal. It got national attention because the footage was so shocking. But what a lot of people don't know is like when that occurred, the organizers in Binghamton reached out to the folks in Syracuse. Were like, what are we going to do about this? And I personally reached out to a few people, and they were just at capacity. They had just sustained a bunch of arrests, and they straight up told us like, we can't do anything. Like, we don't have the ability to mobilize at this time. And I was like, look, I can't coordinate this, but if you need 20 people, I'll get 20 people there. And they made some calls, and they were just like, we just don't have the resources. So that like haunted me afterwards. And within a month of that officer punching that woman, they cleared him of all wrongdoing. The chief got on the news, said, oh, no wrongdoing, but we're going to retrain him. And I remember that was always wild to me. It's like, you just said he did everything right, and you're going to retrain him to like do it harder or what? Like to do it again? I like, so right? Like, what's the point of that? Police training is just a joke. It's just a means to give cops more money. It means nothing. Shortly after that, there was an incident similar at a Target in Clifton Park, right outside of Albany. So same thing happened, but this time it was some disabled black kids, right? It was a black boy with autism and then his slightly older sister. They were manhandled. The girl was body slammed. Again, the footage is wild. Same thing happened. A lot of y'all, I think, were there at the protest. We reached out. They said, "Oh yeah, we're shutting down Target," and that's what we did. Like, a lot of folks descended on Target. They shut the Target down. Then we shut the interstate down. For those who remember, the mayor in 2 cities were pissed about that. The Saratoga police put out statements saying they wouldn't tolerate this, but they did because they had no choice. And we shut down a major corporation for at least several hours. They lost money off that. Target afterwards, I have friends who work at Target. They said there was all these meetings happening about when they can call cops now, because there was like, they didn't want this looking bad for Target. So just off of that protest, there were some policy changes. We don't hear about that stuff because they don't admit to it. But that happened. That occurred. The community showed up. We did what we had to do. we did sustain some arrests after. I think there was one arrest afterwards, but it was important for the community to show up. And I stand by that. And a big reason that people from Binghamton came out was because of that incident in Syracuse where no one came out. Fast forward last year, do y'all remember that the 8-year-old boy in Syracuse was handcuffed? He was crying, he was a black boy. So I think about that most of all, because that, I mean, you know, Joe turns 8 in a few days. Yeah. And Jamel's here now. Let me tell you, if what we saw on footage had happened to Joe or Jamel or Noah or any of the kids that we in our closer circles, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Like, this is a gift. This is a gift to y'all. Y'all don't even know. Like, this is a present. You think this is annoying? This is a present to you because it will be totally different. And I believe that what happened to that boy in Syracuse, like, I know there's organizers who feel guilt off that, because I tend to think maybe if we had showed up at that Walmart and shut that down too, when they punched that woman in the face, the cops in Syracuse would have thought twice before they put cuffs on that little boy. And I remember thinking when that first incident happened, oh, they would never do that at the JC Walmart because we showing up the next day, it's a wrap for Walmart, right? And then it occurred to me that's probably why that didn't happen at our Walmart, is because they know, these pigs know we're turning up, right? And they act differently when their jobs are on the line and they know they're going to be under scrutiny. So that's why it's important for us to keep turning up, showing up. There's no justice to be had here. I don't believe personally there's any legislative justice to be had, but these are opportunities for us to grow. Our base of supporters, our email list, our outreach of people grows every time they fuck up. So they can say, like, we're a small fringe group. 15 organizations sign on to the document. Fringe group. The mayor said we're fringe activists, but even our social media page has like 10,000 more followers than the mayor's. But we're fringe, right? We're extremists because I want the elevator to work and the bathroom to be accessible. Like, we're extreme. No. These are opportunities, and we're growing, and they're losing ground. Police killed almost 100 people a month last year. That's a record. That's never happened before. New record for police violence, but recruitment is at an all-time low. That's why they tokenized this brother right here. They was like, oh, we got one for the poster. Bet he's on the calendar too. Because they know the recruitment's low. Everywhere. They gonna shave his head, put him up again. He gonna have locks next month. But recruitment's low because they're losing, and they know they're losing. And every time there's an incident like this, we gain steam and momentum, and that's what we need to keep doing. With that in mind, I just want to mention that we got 2 more of these, at least, to do this month. So on the 18th, that's next Wednesday, right? That's Emil's, am I saying right? Emil's arraignment, Amiel, at 9 a.m. I fully expect the city to change the date and time because they do that whenever these things are high profile, but it's all right. Like, we'll be whatever they decide to do it. Wednesday, 9 a.m. However you found out about this, you can keep in the loop about that. Really important that we're there for that, because we can get these charges dropped at a minimum. That's the most basic thing we can do for this family to get that burden off of their back, right? So I hope to see a lot of folks there. That needs to occur, and that support is extremely important. And then the other thing, the school board meeting, that's on 24th, I think. Okay, Tuesday. This is at Columbus School. My oldest goes to that school. Before we found out that they put the Kaczynski on desk duty, I asked her, I was like, is this the cop that she's like, yeah, this is the cop. He works at Columbus School. And then they also call him Frankenstein. They call him Frankenstein. So I was like, oh, if you see him, let me know. Because I was ready to, again, that school, we weren't going to allow him to be back in the school. She told me he's not there anymore, but his partner's there. And his partner apparently like walks around with 2 guns, and they think it's funny. He looks like Yosemite Sam. And I never even seen that. I don't think I've seen a Binghamton cop with 2 guns. I was like, that's weird, take a photo. She's like, I can't, because they don't let me have a phone in the school, but the cop got 2 guns walking around. So that city, the school board meeting is going to be on the 24th at that school. And we're going to once again reiterate to the Board of Education that we do not want SROs in these schools. We don't need cops in these schools. We don't need cops anywhere, period. But definitely, we don't need cops like Kaczynski in our schools when we see what they're doing. And we've been putting Kaczynski on blast. All the kids in Columbus, I made sure all the kids in Columbus know what he did. They got jokes for him, but he's not there yet. And it's my intention that he'll never set foot in that school again. And we need to make sure he's not in any school. So I really hope people come out to that school board meeting to make sure to really send a message that this can't happen. Because if nothing happens, I promise you, if nothing happens, it's going to be another 8-year-old in handcuffs. It's going to be another woman punched in the face. If you let incidents like this go, it only gets worse and worse. So showing up like this prevents incidents we can't even imagine. And we unfortunately need to keep it that way. We need to be shutting down preemptively these attacks on our lives. Make sure every cop who sets foot out there knows there's cameras watching him, and not theirs, ours. That's the only way to get like a semblance of accountability. So yeah, that's really all I want to say. Thank you everybody who came out tonight, and you can keep speaking. If other folks want to come up and speak, let's do it.
We wanted to oink real quick, so if y'all can oink with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's specifically for me, for Tom Scanlon and Sophia Retton Shitty, and Giovanni Scaringi, who I know is on wherever it is, National Guard. And I mean, we know when people leave, but somebody please record this and show it to them, because I know Tom Scanlon left, but he was here, so.
Oink, oink.
Everybody.
Oink, 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 oink,
Oink, oink, oink, oink, oink, oink.
Yes. It's wild the different quality of oinks that were coming out, but some of y'all put a lot of practice.
I'll get it. Yeah. I'm here again. I just wanted to say that this is my son Jamel. Jamel, can you stand up, please? This is Jamel. And Jamel is 14 and it's his first year of high school. He likes school. He's very intelligent. He's outspoken. He speaks up when he needs to speak up. I teach him to be respectful. At 9 years old, I had to sit Jamel down to teach him how to interact with police when he's outside by himself. Because now Jamel walks to the Boys and Girls Clubs by himself. Jamel walks to his basketball practices by himself. And when you look at Jamel, he would automatically be profiled as a problem person. Just the way he looks, because he has dreadlocks, he's wearing a Nike tech suit, a black hoodie. He would be profiled as the problem person. But he's very respectful, he's very sweet, and he's very humble. And I would never, and Hamil's mom was a part of that as well. She used to take care of Jamel when he was a year old. So she's a part of that village to make sure that this child was thriving. And she put the same type of work I put into my son, into her son. And I could imagine the heartbreak that she feels to see her son come home with his face like that and him all bruised up by people that she thought that was around would keep her kids safe. From a young age, I had to teach my son that he's not safe. Even when cops are around, because he will be profiled. And we have to change that. We've been had to change that. And you guys have to really take that seriously. That whole accountability board shit was bullshit. Because guess what? Somebody kneeling on next. And before somebody died, because let me tell you, this is a gift, it is. We screaming now and nobody hasn't died. Wait till, if God forbid something happens like that, it's not gonna be nice. God forbid if y'all, let me make sure y'all remember that face, because if y'all
ever do anything to my son, it's gonna be a problem. I don't mind doing life in jail for that.
No quorum. Go ahead and leave. I will leave now. There's no quorum. We had public comment. We haven't had any public hearings yet. They don't care. They don't care. Or they attack you, they attack me. They try to take turns attacking everybody else dies. Except go burn. You and me. Strong a little bit. Oh, don't look down. I don't know. Okay, I might go move the rest upstairs. So wait, I don't. You're here. I don't stop. I'm not gonna. I didn't regret it. The next time somebody's
Okay. All right, we have 3 public hearings tonight. Mr. Clerk, you tell people are going to participate in the public hearings.
Residents wishing to speak may come up for 5 minutes. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Okay, go ahead and announce the first public hearing, please.
So we have 3 public hearings tonight. The first one we'll hold now, which is the city of Binghamton will hold a public hearing regarding RL 22-299, entitled an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Binghamton to rezone portions of Conklin Avenue.
Lacks a quorum at the moment, so you have to wait until there's a quorum. No quorum.
We can't even make a motion. I don't know. We can't make a motion to adjourn without. So.
Okay, now that we have a quorum, we can continue the public hearing on rezoning portions of Conklin Avenue.
Okay, seeing no speakers, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, will you please read the next public hearing into the record?
So our next public hearing is regarding RL 22-309, entitled Bond Ordinance of the City of Binghamton authorizing various capital improvements in and for the city, stating the estimated maximum therefore is $16,369,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose and authorizing the issue of bonds of the city in the principal amount of not to exceed $16,369,000 to finance said appropriation. So anyone that's willing to participate in this public hearing, please come up. You'll have 5 minutes and state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
But. Okay, I guess we're done. What do we do?
No quorum, the meeting can go forward, but you cannot act. So the meeting's over.
Do we do anything formal or just all leave? I'm not prepared, but.
I would say that you could entertain a motion to adjourn, but there's not enough votes to
Did she
adopt.
not even wait for a motion to adjourn? We don't even know enough of us to do that. Is she already late? Oh.